ESPN named Surprise X Factor for the Cincinnati Bengals in the 2023 season. And let's be honest, if I had to choose an X Factor or player that if they go off or having a fantastic season or really could change the whole dynamic of this year and make this year, a Super Bowl year, my defense X Factor is kind of between Joseph Asai and Dax Hill. Right? Because if Dax can take off and become the monster that he can be, then it's going to absolutely make the secondary the best in the NFL. But also, if Joseph Asai can take a step up, he has injuries in his past where he wasn't able to see the field as much. He can absolutely become a monster pass rusher, which makes a rotational piece with him and Miles Murphy absolutely amazing. Offensive X factors, I would say Charlie Jones. Charlie Jones and Chase Brown. I know there's two rookies, and it's always like, oh yeah, you say the X factors of the rookies, but really those two guys are the future of this team. At the running back position, depending on what happens with Joe Mixon, Chase Brown is the future. He's the guy who's going to take over the reign and become that number one guy, if everything works out correctly. And then at the wide receiver position, Tyler Boyd is reaching his final year of his contract, and it doesn't look like he's going to be brought back. And if that's the case, there needs to be the three-headed monster, Boyd, T, and Chase. Well, if Boyd's gone, that three-headed monster needs another head, and that's going to be Charlie Jones. So we'll see what they say here, but I'm going to go with those guys as my X Factor. And the X Factor is Jonah Williams. Okay, so the X Factor for 2023, one name that doesn't come up often is Jonah Williams. Though ESPN's Seth Walder just raised him as an outright X Factor of the season for the Bengals. Okay, yeah, no, this actually does make perfect sense. Although they do absolutely bash him in this little excerpt after this. It says right tackle Jonah Williams, according to ESPN Analytics research, his 84% pass block win rate last season ranked 55th of 64 tackles. He has never posted an average pass block win rate for a tackle. Williams was on the right side now, but unless he improves his past performance, he's still a weakness in quarterback Joe Burrow's protection. Yeah, so not something that I was thinking about going into this article, but it is true that he is technically the X Factor because we look at last year, right? How did the Bengals lose to the Chiefs in that game? At the end of the championship, right? The last drive when the Bengals are marching, going down the field to kick a money mac field goal to win, goes Super Bowl. Hakeem gets destroyed at the right tackle position. Chris Jones throws him back into Joe Burrow. That is, if you want to just cut everything else, the refs, all the game, right? That one play gave the ball back to the Chiefs and they went down and scored and won the game, right? That one play. The right tackle position. So if Jonah can step up and become a monster, yes, he can become the X Factor of 2023. Now, Collins is still the biggest question mark, and I would probably put him as the biggest question mark going into this season, because if he is healthy by week 1, which right now the Athletics said that they project him to start off on the PUP list, there's still talks about possibly he could be ready for week 1. Nobody knows at this moment in time. He claims he'd go back on the field right now with a brace and he'll be fine. Again, nobody knows. If he can go back in, then obviously Jonah becomes the backup and he's not the X Factor. But if Jonah has to go in and become the starter, and that's, again, speaking to the fact he beats out Jackson Carman, then, yeah, he is mostly the X Factor. But I don't know if I put him too much of the X Factor. And the reason why I say that is because I think even if he doesn't have a fantastic, crazy season, right? If he has a pretty mid season that's like decently mid, above average, this team can win a Super Bowl easily, right? Right, last year at the right tackle position when Collins went down, there wasn't really a crazy amazing right tackle, right? It was kind of a mid okay, and this team still pretty much got to the Super Bowl. Obviously they didn't get there, but they almost got there, right? So I think, in my opinion, again, like I said, I think the X Factor is still Dax Hill. I'm still saying the X Factor is Dax Hill because I think if he takes off and he becomes like, that Brian Dawkins. Okay, he's not gonna be Brian Dawkins, but let's say he did. Let's say hypothetically speaking, the universe far, far away, galaxy below, Star Wars crap. He becomes of like a Brian Dawkins. Even if Jonah is mid at right tackle, where he's like average, nothing special. If we have Dax Hill taking off, then I think that's a bigger X factor than right tackle. Me personally. Again, because if Jonah doesn't work out, you still got Jackson Carman you can slot in there and see how he works out. And if Jackson Carman doesn't work out, you still got Cody. We really do have Cody Ford. I just realized that immensely in my head. Nothing wrong with Cody Ford, nothing at all. But yeah, like on a real note though. And then again, first 6 weeks, and then Collins comes back after 6 weeks, and then he's your right tackle. So for the whole season, I'm probably going to go with Dax Hill. It's Dax Hill or Charlie Jones. I put it like this. Dax Hill, number 1. Number 2 is Charlie Jones. Number 3 is Chase Brown. Number 4 is Joseph Asai. The only reason Joseph Asai is last because Miles Murphy, I think, he could argue that he could be an X Factor too, right? But overall wise, I probably wouldn't put Jonah in my top 5 X Factors. I really wouldn't. And again, hey, listen, ESPN is ESPN. I don't know if you guys saw recently, but they actually fired a bunch of people. Let me list off the people they fired. So this upcoming season, guys, if you're watching ESPN Monday Night Football, they fired Steve Young, Max Kellerman, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Matt Hasselbeck. I love the fact they fired Keyshawn Johnson because he always bashes the Bengals. Matt Hasselbeck, Susie Kober, Todd McShay, David Pollock, and Rob Nikovic. They fired all those guys. And that one woman. Why? I don't know. Because I guess they say they aren't getting good ratings. But they're going to bring on Pat McAfee. And get ready for Monday Night Football to be Pat McAfee. And that's it. Oh, life, man. Guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys next one. Peace out.